Okay, so David, first of all, happy anniversary to the Mindset Call.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a year since we took it from being a call-in number to being on Zoom, and it's pretty exciting. It's been a year.
Yeah. So, um, you always do these interviews of people, and we get to know some of the other agents. And I thought it would be good to kind of get to know you a little bit better.
Awesome. Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing this interview.
Well, I'm excited about that because, to your point, I am always interviewing, asking people questions, and being on the other side of it. It's a little I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited to share and talk with you. So I say, let's jump into it.
Okay. And I know that we should have memorized my script, but I have my questions here, so I'm going to have to read them.
That's fair.
Okay. Originally, the mindset call was started by other agents. When those agents didn't stick to the commitment, what about the mindset morning call made you feel compelled to continue doing it?
Wow, that's a really good question, Lana. I will tell you, it was a great part of my morning routine, and I'm a big believer in having a morning routine. Whether
Mhm.
that's getting up and meditating or working out. And so for me, the mindset call was just a great way to start my day. The way we did things, sharing gratitude, talking about wins, losses, opportunities, and then sharing affirmations. I just felt like it's something I needed for me,
Mhm.
and then I knew so many people really enjoyed being on the call, and it brought a lot to their mornings as well. So I felt like I needed to continue that for all of us.
Okay, so that's totally coming from contribution.
True.
Yeah. Okay, what do you see as some of the key benefits agents are receiving from joining the call that is helping them succeed in their business or in their personal life,
Or in
actually?
their personal life, so business and professional. Let's start off with business. I think the biggest thing is you can be a newer agent and you could be a fly on the wall, or you could jump in and be part of the conversation. You're going to learn what you should be doing from people who are actually doing the work. And so it's great
Mhm.
to have those examples from people every day that are out there winning. And it's also great to have a place where you can put your guard down and share some of your frustrations with real estate, and know that the people who are on the call with you understand it. I could
Yeah.
talk to my wife
Mhm.
all day about what's happening in real estate, and she'll listen. She doesn't really get it. And so having that outlet to speak with people who are doing the same work is, I think, very powerful. Luckily for us, during COVID, we had this call. And I think the benefit to us on
Mhm.
the business front and the personal front is that we had people that were holding us accountable to still get out there and work during the quarantine. And then we also had a
Yeah.
safe space where we could come and get together and fellowship and be a tribe and support each other, because it got pretty lonely being quarantined and being at home, and it was nice to have a place where you could come and be around like-minded people that you really enjoy being around.
Yeah, well, it was a very kind of lonely time. I mean, some of us have kids and spouses or whatever, but not being able to like get out of your house and see other people
Mhm.
was, I think, very depressing for a lot of people.
Yes.
And so I think during that time, you could probably see a lot of people slipping into that depression, and hopefully the mindset call helped them come out of that.
Well, I know for a fact it helped them come out of it. I also know that I have agents that work for other companies, and when the quarantine hit, a lot of people put their head in the sand and just said, listen, I just want to wait for this to be over. I'm afraid I'm not going out. I'm not doing real estate. I don't know what to do in order to be successful
Hmm.
during the pandemic. And because we have this call and we learn how to pivot and use virtual rooms like Zoom and Google Meet, and how to do a listing presentation on Zoom, or how to do an open house on Zoom. And we saw people doing it, and they were sharing with us what they did to have success during the pandemic. It allowed our agents to have success. And most
Yeah.
of the agents had their best year in 2020, where you would think during the pandemic that wouldn't be the case. And I think the morning mindset was not a huge part of that, but it's definitely a part of that, showing people that you can be successful.
Yeah. I remember when doing the Zoom open houses first started,
Mhm.
and it was like so choppy, and everybody was so in the way of their camera or in the way of who was speaking. And now it goes so smoothly, like just a professional is walking through the house.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. We
It's
learn how
amazing
to
when you
pivot.
do something more and more, how much better you become.
Very true.
Okay, the purpose of the call, like you said, is to start the day with gratitude, affirmations, and intention. Can you share with me your vision for the call?
So my vision for the call, and I just have to put this out here. Our office, BCP, Bergen County Partners, we have close to 1,500 agents. My vision for the call would be to log on one day and see all 1,500 on. I know that's not
Oh,
going to happen. I'd love to see that, right? And yet I know that it's the 80/20 rule, and we'll probably have about 20% of people typically plugging in. So my vision would be to have at least 300 people on the call
mm,
and actually participating in the call. There's a lot of pressure from me, from Seth, from Ron, to have content and things to talk about, every day to keep people coming back. And it's a lot of pressure. And sometimes we feel like we want it more for the agents than they want it for themselves. And I say that a lot. And so people have heard me say that. And I know that there are people who have things to say, that have
mm,
experiences that they can share. And some of them might feel like I used to feel like I was afraid to speak up, and you'll hear people like Haza say in the beginning, she never spoke. She would get on the call and just be a fly on the wall. And now look how vocal she is.
yeah.
We have tons of hazes that are part of our group that just haven't found their voice yet. And my vision would be to get those people to find their voice because they all have so much to contribute. And once they start sharing, their ups and downs, their wins, their losses, right, their frustrations, like Isaiah shared with us last night, I think that it will just make it a stronger call. That's what I want.
How do you think the other agents on the call could help facilitate that? What could agents do on the call that do talk now help encourage other people to talk?
I think as we hear people's stories and situations, encouraging them, hey, you should actually, I thank you for sharing that with me, but you should also share that on the call tomorrow morning, and
Mm,
talk about that situation. So just encouraging more people to speak up. And because we all hear stories, people share things with me, people share things with you, that would be germane to the conversations we have in the morning. And if you or me or someone else would encourage those agents to speak up and share, or even
mm.
sometimes call them out, make them a little uncomfortable and say, hey, Mary, you shared something with me yesterday. I think the group would love to hear. Do you mind sharing what you told me about blank situation? As long as it's not something that's extremely private, but something that would
Right.
be of value, I think we could do a little bit more of that.
Okay. You truly embrace the idea that everyone should strive to be successful in their own way. What are some types of successes people have experienced on the morning mindset call?
And I'll say this without saying names because I don't know if people would want me to share. However,
Mm,
there have been tons of agents that have my background, the fear of public speaking, and I've challenged them because I always needed someone to challenge me to speak, and sometimes that's just sharing your gratitude or sharing an affirmation. And I've seen those agents over the year just get stronger and stronger and find their voice. And that's been extremely powerful. I see a lot of agents come on who haven't really bought into prospecting and getting on the phone. And yet, when they hear it over and over again, that that's really our job to lead generate every day, they get out there and they start doing it and they start having success. And to me, that's great. And then also just leaving the buyer side and going to the listing side and knowing that it's possible to get out there and land listings, whether you're a new agent or a veteran. I think a
mhm.
lot of people are having success getting listings because they're hearing stories, they're learning scripts, they're learning how to prepare and how to pre-qualify to make them stronger listing agents. So I think a lot of that success is had on the morning mindset call.
Yeah, it's definitely harder to um, be a listing agent than a buyer's agent in terms of the initial work and the effort that you have to put into it up front,
Mhm.
and getting the listing. Um, Someone said something other than getting the listing. Maybe it was take the listing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I mean, even myself, when I first joined the mindset call, I was much different than I am now.
Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
you know, business, professional and personal. So I know there have been lots of successes.
So, I have to tell you, when it comes to taking listings, I think you're absolutely correct. It takes more upfront to learn how to pre-qualify, learn the listing presentation, learn how to run comps. Like that's something that we can always do a better job at. However, once you have those skills, when you start thinking about how many buyers you can work with at one time and how many sellers you can work with. You can
Hmm.
have 10 sellers and work on 10 listings, but in to have 10 buyers and take them out, it's really hard to have control of your life and have a balance when you are attempting to work with that many buyers. And so
Right.
working with listings gives you control of your time, gives you control over your income. Buyers, especially in this market, I mean, I feel really it's a tough time to be working with buyers because you're writing up 5, 6, 7 offers per buyer to only get
Hmm.
one accepted, and that's
If
tough.
you get that
If you
accepted.
get that accepted, however, you can have 7 listings, and if it's priced correctly, all 7 are selling quickly and for top dollar. So it's
Yeah.
definitely the time to be listing focused. I always believe it's always the time to be listing focused in my world.
Okay. What do you find is the most successful technique to motivate the agents on the call?
Mm, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I have to tell you that's one of my biggest challenges is, you
Yeah.
know, how to motivate. Um, I think the biggest thing is it's not me, it's other people coming in and sharing success. You talking about putting your nose to the ground and calling old expireds and converting those to listings. I think that motivates people because it's one thing for me to tell them to go out and do it and how to do it. It's another thing for them to see you go from not having listings to actually doing the work and the listing showing up. Look
Hmm.
at look at Patty Gurney, look at Tara, look at Hazel, look at Ira, look at Mina, like all the people who are doing the work and are having the success. I think the best way to motivate everyone else on the call is to make sure that we have conversations with those people who are succeeding and get them to pour into the group and motivate them through their actions. To me, that's the biggest way is to show that it can be done and how it's being done and get people to buy into that.
So then it's not one particular um, technique that you have. It's you almost being the group facilitator to get the people who have had successes to talk about it.
I think that's the biggest piece. For me, my whole thing is I care. I want to see people succeed. My motto is I always want to be the coach that I needed. And when I
Mm,
was coaching, I never had a coach that knew my true big why and then didn't allow me to give bullshit excuses on why I wasn't doing the work. Right.
mhm,
I could tell my coach anything and he'd be like, okay, well, make sure you do it next time. And inside, I was kind of happy he let me off the hook. However, deep
mhm.
down inside, I'm like, I wish he wouldn't let me off the hook because I really need to be doing this. And I need him to ask me, why am I choosing not to do the work that will help me hit my goal? And that's one thing I do in coaching. And I hold people accountable and I'm asking questions. And hopefully that motivates them because when people see how much I care, right? I can't care more than they care. And so I
Yeah.
think it makes them show up differently. Like, hey, David's asking me these questions. He's not letting me off the hook. Why am I choosing not to do the work? And
Mhm.
how can I show up differently? Because I want to, especially now that I'm seeing these people show up differently and they're having success. And so for me, if there's anything that I do that might motivate people, I think it's digging a little deeper, asking questions, and having some accountability.
Did you ever ask that coach to treat you differently? To instead of say, "Oh, you can do it next time," say, "Be tougher on you." Did you ever ask him to do that?
I'll be honest with you, no, because again, deep down inside, if I'm being honest with you, I wanted to be let off that hook. At the same time, I wanted to be held accountable, but I think being let off the hook felt a little better.
So
There's
you weren't ready to take
I
that
wasn't
step
ready.
off the edge.
I wasn't. And listen, when I was ready to, I didn't have a coach. It's just something that clicked in me. Well, I shouldn't say that because there was a conversation that really made things click with me. And yet it was really just me showing up, putting in the work every day once I figured out what I needed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, what is one common quality that you consistently recognize in successful agents,
Ooh.
if there is one?
Learning agility, I think is important. There's so much information that we put out here as a company. That's one good thing about Keller Williams, especially VSR. It's a lot of training, a lot of classes. You can
Yeah.
get stuck though. You can get stuck in analysis paralysis and taking class after class, seminar after seminar. And I think those people who have that learning agility to take that information and implement it and get out there and work have success, right? The
Yeah.
people who understand that it's not about selling real estate, it's about following a schedule and are willing to commit to time blocking the activities that will lead to them being successful. Those,
Hmm.
those people are out there making it happen. And so for me, those two things are extremely important.
Yeah. Okay. Because I guess you can really get caught up in going on Zoom on this class and then the next day another class and then another one, and you actually feel like you're doing something and you're really just lying to yourself. Because if you're just taking a class over and over and over and you're not going out and practicing it in real life, you know, what's that going to
Yeah.
get you?
Yeah. I mean, I'll share this with you because in my life as a real estate agent is the one thing that had the biggest impact on me. When I was working with the coach, I was in Dallas, and I was
Mhm.
that agent who could be on in every class, right, doing all the activities that didn't translate into money. However, I could be at the office at 9 o'clock and not leave until 4. And if you didn't know any better, you would think I was working my butt off, and I
Mm.
wasn't. I was just absorbing information and not implementing anything. And my coach said something to me about my wife. He said, "Your wife Michelle works 10 to 12 hours a day, busting her butt, and here you are. You haven't done one thing today to create income for your family. You've been going to classes, broker opens, like doing all the busy stuff, but you haven't done one thing to create income. How would
Mm.
the dinner conversation be tonight if you had to sit down with Michelle and say, honey, I know you've been working hard. I know you've been putting in 10 to 12 hours, and I didn't do anything today to generate money for our family." And as a man, that I was like, whoa, like it
That
almost
would have
brought me
scared the
to
shit
tears.
out of me.
It did. And it made me look at the activities I was doing, and I finally said to myself, enough is enough. Like, you're taking these classes because you don't feel like you have the confidence, and you just need to go do. You need to go
Mm.
put yourself out there, get on the phone. It's okay if you get hung up on. It's okay if you don't get the listing. You're not getting the listing doing what you're doing. So at least put yourself in a position where you may get an opportunity. And that was the best conversation a coach ever had with me that really got me into action.
Did you ever share that story with Michelle?
I did.
Oh, okay.
And she
Did
saw
she
the,
say
she
what?
saw the change. She saw the change in me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, did she ever say what she would do to you if you'd said that at the dinner table
No. Probably smacked me up in the back of my head, like, get your ass
with
out
a
there and go to
frying
work.
pan?
Pretty much a cast iron at that. But no, she supports me. She knows that I'm a hard worker once I'm focused. And I was just juggling with some drunk monkeys in my head around, public speaking and putting myself out there and not feeling like I really knew everything I needed to know in order to be successful. And what I found out pretty quickly is it's okay if you're learning as you work. You're not going to know all the
Yeah.
answers. As long as you know where to go get the answers, it's okay to get out there and start working.
Well, I tell you, one thing that has always motivated me is because
Mhm.
I don't want to come home and tell Lily, my 16-year-old, that we're not eating dinner tonight.
Mm,
I mean, I've shared on the mindset call that, in the beginning, I was fluctuating between eating and not eating, so I think both of those kind of hit home,
yeah, of
whether it's your
course.
spouse or your child.
course. And with you, especially if you know you're not eating because you're choosing not to do the work. It's not that you're not eating because you did the work and people just didn't hire you.
Yeah,
It's you're not eating because you're not even doing the activities that would put the food on your table, right?
right.
That's the difference, or it was with
And
me.
when you start getting real with yourself,
Hmm.
which I think happens over time on the mindset call, then you really understand what you weren't doing that you thought you were doing.
Mm, yeah,
Because if you have to be totally honest with yourself, it's kind of like, well, do you make your bed every day? Sure, I do. Really? No, only 5 times a week or so, 5 times a whatever, a month, whatever.
right, right.
Um, but when you're honest with yourself, I feel that you then have to accept that you weren't doing all these activities,
Hmm.
and that happens as a process in the mindset call. That's the process that it did for me, at least.
Well, I think that's
So,
awesome. I'm glad to have that
in
impact
co-
on you.
in coaching others, what is most frustrating for you?
What is most frustrating about coaching others? I think it's kind of what I said before, me wanting it more for them than they want it for themselves. Like
Mm,
I am the coach that I needed. I am the person who will say, "You said you were going to make 20 calls yesterday. You didn't do it. Why did you choose not to do it?" And when the excuses start coming out, like, come on. Do you want to make $200,000 this year or not? Because you're working like you want to make $5 an hour. That's the type of effort you're putting into it. And just getting people to show up for themselves and show up for what they say is their big why and their motivation is a little frustrating when they don't show up, or when they show up, but it's just a short period of time. They go hard for a week and then they're like, I've been doing this for a week and nothing's happening. And
mm,
getting them to understand that it doesn't happen in a week. Like we were talking about this morning on the morning mindset call, most people decide to meet with you after between the fifth and 12th contact. So if you're
mhm.
talking to people once a week, you got to be committed to it for 5 to 12 weeks. If you give up at week number 4, then you gave up a week too soon,
And you
potentially.
just wasted all your time.
And you wasted all your time. So I sometimes say to people, if you're not going to do the follow up, don't make the calls.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that I've realized, and it's hard for me to do because I don't like telling someone that they can't do what they say they want to do. But I think sometimes you have to love people out the business and let them know maybe this isn't the right business for you if you're not willing to do your job. And your job in real estate is to lead generate however you choose to do it. It can be your
Hmm.
database, it could be door knocking, it could be open houses. That's your job. And if you're not willing to show up and do that, maybe this is not the right job for you. And that's okay. Maybe it's not the right career for you, I should say.
I mean, that's what an employer would say.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
you were hired in, say, retail business and you just weren't doing it, they would have that conversation with you and say, you know what, maybe retail's not for you,
That's true.
you know. So,
And yet, I feel like I don't always have that right with people. If people say, "Hey, I want you to be direct with me and coach me on this," then yes, I can have that conversation. But there are certain people who haven't given me that permission. I don't feel like I have that right to say that to them. I feel like they have
yeah.
to self-discover it.
Well, that one of the things that's not on my list is I just thought of it must be difficult for you to relate to so many different personalities, or you must be really good at figuring out people because I'm sure you need to talk differently to, say, Ira than you would to Raj or to Patty and me.
Mhm.
You know, that we're all different people. And so, how do you like manage that?
That's so interesting you say that. I was talking to my friend Megan this morning, and she almost said the same thing. She was like, during Scotch and Scripts, it's interesting watching you manage that call, and you have all these different personalities on there, including you.
Mm.
And she was like, I don't know how,
Mute, mute, mute.
right? I don't know how you do it. And I will say this: one blessing that moving around has had for me is that I've met so many different people from different backgrounds, all walks of life. I mean, I've lived in Cleveland, Los Angeles. Texas, and now New Jersey. However, the biggest thing is what we talk about in real estate. You need to ask questions and you need to be quiet and listen. And so I feel like I can have conversations with different people because I'm not always talking. I'm
Mm.
asking questions and listening, and I'm really listening. Like when I say to someone, "Hey, how are you?" I'm not just looking for good. I'm actually asking,
Fine.
"How are you?" Like, "What's up?" And I really want to know. And I think
Mm.
people, once they get to know me, they know that it's just not a surface question. They know that I really care about how they are and how they're doing. And it allows people to open up and share, and it allows me to get to know them and how to communicate and talk with them.
Well, I just have to say, just like last night, when I said Isaiah's video
Mhm.
was so, like, I felt like the excitement was seeping from his pores. When I listen to you and I watch you speak and hear what you're saying, I feel like just as much as he resonates excitement and urgency, you resonate acceptance.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like when I look at you, I see acceptance of everybody, you
Wow.
know? So I think that that is probably helpful on the mindset call.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I remember hearing something when I was really young, and I've always read books like Rich Dad Poor Dad and um, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and books like that since I was young. And I read or heard or someone told me something like treat everybody the same, like no matter who they are,
Mm,
don't judge, treat everyone the same. And I remember working in Los Angeles for Kaplan Test Prep, and there was this I forget the guy's name, this homeless guy on the street. There was a guy who ran the parking lot, let you in and out of the parking lot. And then we had our executives, at Kaplan. And I could walk down the street and talk to anybody. T-Bomb was his name, the homeless guy. Hey, what's up, T-Bomb? Talk to him, like give him a sandwich here and there. The guy who opened up and down the garage entrance, Jelani, I talked to him. And then the CEO of our company would come through and I talked to him too. And it's like, I don't care who you are. Like if you're good people, you're good people. And I accept you. And I don't judge people. It's about how you treat me, right? I'm always going to treat people the same until I see how you act and how you react to things.
that's just the golden rule. Treat others how you would want them to treat you, right?
I want people to treat me based on how I show up, not based on my skin color. I know people see color, I see color, but I want you to
Mm.
treat me based on how I show up. What type of coach am I? What type of agent? What type of man? What type of husband? What type of father? And judge me on that. So
Yeah.
that's how I do.
And I just have to say that following you on Instagram,
Mhm.
you can get a feeling for all of those areas of your life, how you are. You know, you have a little bit of showing up as a coach, and then some as a husband when you take Michelle out to dinner, and some as a father when you're cooking with your girls. So I think that that allows people to get to know you, or at least to feel like they know about you more,
Yeah.
because
You're
it's all right out there.
if I could speak on that for a second, that was actually initially pretty intentional because I moved from Dallas to New Jersey in 2012, and I moved to a town called Wyckoff, which is a pretty close community. Like people grow up in that town, go away to college, they move back, they raise their family. Everyone there knew each other. So um, being new to town, being a black family in town, like people are like, not sure about these folks yet. So it was I felt like in order to be successful in real estate, not sure what happened there. That's weird. All right,
Yeah.
I'm back. I felt like I don't know. Sorry. In order to be successful in real estate, I felt like people need to know a little bit more about me than I'm just an agent. And so I
Mm,
posted videos of Michelle and I going out, me hanging out with the girls, us cooking, me grilling, and then the photography. And as I started doing that, to your point, people get to know who you are.
mhm,
And then when I would see people in town, they're like, hey, I saw that steak you cooked. And we start having conversations about grilling. And they relate it to me based on that, or they relate it based on me loving movies or taking the girls out hiking. So it helps. And I think one thing as real estate agents, we need to do a better job at is letting people get to know us. And it shouldn't always be open house, new listing, just sold, just under contract. It needs to be a little bit of you so people get to know you and people want to work with people they know and like. So I think that's important.
Yeah, but you don't have to fix your hair when you get out of bed.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. Because if I don't, you'll see all these like bald spots. I definitely have to work on this.
Okay. What is the one thing the agents can do to improve their business other than lead generate? Because I know you would probably say lead generate more.
Yeah, agents can do to improve their business, know their numbers.
Mm,
Know their numbers. Like one thing that always impressed me about Ron Lagashi is I can say, how many homes are for sale in Carolina? He would know.
mm,
Your basic agent doesn't know how many homes are for sale in their town, how many just sold, what they sold for, what the days on the market. They don't know that information. And we should.
yeah,
We especially in our town like that we're working in, we should know everything about sales in that town, and it gives you more confidence to have conversations with people because people are going to ask you, so how's the market doing? And your answer shouldn't be, well, it's on fire right now. It should be,
yeah.
we actually only have 10 homes for sale and they're selling in 2 days, and we're getting our sellers typically 10 to 15% over list price. The market's incredible right now. When would you be ready to sell?
Yeah.
Right.
You not only sound more confident, but you feel more confident because you have the facts to back it up.
Absolutely. So I would say that's the one thing. Know your numbers and know how to price property. Like go to CMA classes, do Jeffrey Otto. That's important as well.
Okay. What do you contribute to the growing number of agents that continue to join the morning call? Like when I first started, maybe there was 5 to 7 agents, then it went to like 15 to 20,
Yeah.
and now there's typically 40 to 50 on the call at 8:45 a.m. So, and that happened all in one year where it went from this handful of people to this big group. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, you're right. I remember sometimes it would be just Ron and I on the call, like, hey Ron, how are you? I think part of it is people were getting value. And when people are getting value, they share it with other people and say, hey, you need to be on this call. I'm pretty vocal on social media, so I post a lot and I'm always letting people know where I am and what I'm doing. So I think that keeps it top of mind for people. The offices have been really supportive on putting that on the calendar, so it's on top of mind for a lot of agents as well. But I really think it boils down to the value people get from it. I always hear agents say starting the day off with gratitude, and hearing stories from other agents is a great way to start their day. So I think they really value that time in the morning.
Yeah, I know that every agent that I come across that isn't on that call, I say, get on that call.
Mhm.
Even though I'm not always up that early, I tell everybody else to be. I say, get up and get on that call.
Yeah, don't do what I do, do what I say. Get on the call.
Right. That's what I tell Lily too.
Yeah, I hear you. I say it too.
So, do you believe that shifting the call to a visual Zoom made an impact in the effectiveness or growth of the call? And how has going to Zoom and Facebook contributed to the benefit of the call?
Yeah, I think having the face-to-face conversation is more powerful. It was really easy for people to be on the call-in number and be a fly on the wall, and we didn't even know you were on.
Yeah, because you had to announce yourself.
But most people didn't. They would just get on and join. With Zoom, even if you don't share your screen where I can see your face, I know you're on. I see your name. And so
Mm,
I think that that helps with engagement. It allows me to call on people who aren't sharing and get them to talk and get out of their comfort zone. And you see that sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get people to talk. And then they open up and they share something that's so powerful and profound. And they start realizing how many other people feel the same way. I mean, you've had that
mhm.
experience on the call where you've shared things and people are like, I'm dealing with the same thing. I've dealt with that before. And when
Yeah.
you realize that more people are like you that aren't like you, it makes you feel like, hey, this is my tribe. Like I'm not the only person that feels this way. And I want to be here and I want to show up because I know these people get me and they want to see me do well. So I think that that helps, having the Zoom and being able to see people. It made us feel closer to people. It was like COVID pushed us apart, but Zoom brought us together. And I thought that was a
Yeah.
big part of the morning mindset call. And I think having it on Facebook allows it to open up to people who have other commitments in the morning and can't necessarily watch it live, but they have a place they know they can go to later on that day and watch it and plug
Mhm.
in. And I think that's extremely important because not everyone's available at 8:45.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I was going to just say that COVID did that one good thing for us, allowed us to, you know, almost forced us to create this, even though we could have stayed on the phone, you know, it just evolved into something over Zoom. And I think that there's something like innate in all of us as humans that make us want to feel a part of some kind of group.
Hmm.
We can feel a part of so many groups, whether I feel a part of my town or my neighborhood or the people in my house or the people at work. There's these all little subsets of different groups. And I think that that makes people feel really good when they can be a part of a group.
I think it's extremely important. And when I grew up in Cleveland, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. At my high school, I had my best friends. However, there were all these cliques, all these
Hmm.
groups, and a lot of it was around status. Like if your parents could afford to buy you polo and Nautica gear and the nice Nikes, right? You could be part of these groups. But if you were dressing like I dress and you had on clothes from Sears, right? You couldn't necessarily be with the group. No matter how cool you were, it was about status and what you wore. And
Wow.
so I was not part of any group. I had my friends, but I didn't have the groups. So for me, it's all about inclusive. Like if you want to be part of our morning mindset or Scotch and scripts, I don't care how long you've been an agent. I don't care what company you work for. I don't care where you live. I'm like, just come in and we can all help each other and learn from each other. And I don't limit who can come into the group. And
Yeah.
I never have and never will. And to me, that's extremely important. I want people to have a place where they feel like they belong, no matter where you're from or how long you've been doing it. That's important.
I think that's all a part of your aura of acceptance. You're just accepting of everybody and you have that on your face. Okay. Do you feel that increasing your visual presence on the morning mindset has had a positive impact on the growth of your push program?
Well, it has twofold. So number one, I think people just being able to see me and interact with me and other people who have taken push. And when you see people talk about something, right? Nothing's lost in translation. You can read their body language and know, hey, this is a good experience. And so I think that draws a lot of people to me and to push. How it's helped me, and one reason, selfishly, I put it on Zoom is I needed to get comfortable on video because my overall vision for push and anything I do is to open it up and be able to do it worldwide. Like I hold a push where anyone, any state can take it. And I wasn't very comfortable doing video. I would like do a video and do 20 retakes because something didn't sound or didn't look right, or I wasn't comfortable with the setting. And so by doing, I mean, come on, if you're doing the Zoom meeting every day, 5 days a week for a year, you're going to get better in video. And I'm still not
Yeah.
where I want to be, but I've improved. And so it's helped me tremendously in my growth to grow the push program and take it national with an online program.
What was that movie when you said I want to go worldwide? I immediately thought of I think it's called Step Brothers,
Oh my
where
God.
they create this company and it's like they're on their dad's boat and they're like something worldwide.
Will
I,
Ferrell, I mean, that guy, they're nuts.
I know. And I just thought when I almost started laughing because it's like something like, I don't know, classic worldwide, but it was just the way you said it. I was like, oh my God, it's that
Well,
movie.
listen, that's my vision for it, and if that's fit, if that's the plan for the future, I'm gonna step into it and do everything I can to be prepared for it.
Awesome. All right, David, you are always motivating others. Where do you get your motivation from? And what is your big why? Because you're always asking us about our big why.
Hmm.
And since
So
you already got the pool happening,
super excited about that. For me, I've always believed you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And so it motivates me helping people get what they want because again, it's helping me get to where I want to be in life. And
hmm,
so that motivates me. Someone said to me years ago when I was in Phoenix getting the Keller Williams Cultural Award, and I noticed someone kind of having the issue, being a little nervous about getting on stage. And I went and talked to them. And she said something to me that I had never heard from anyone else. She said, David, I have to tell you, your spirit is of an encourager. You encourage other people. And I so
hmm.
appreciate that about you. And I sat with that for a little bit. And I'm like, I I don't see myself that way, but I accept that. And since then, I've always liked to motivate and encourage people to go out and show up as their best self.
So, and you still don't see yourself as an encourager, or has that
I
changed?
do, I do now more than I used to.
Mm.
I just don't think about it. It's so natural and organic for me. That's just me. That's just how I show up. So I don't really think about it, although I know it's there. It's just not top of mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. You're just acting as yourself.
Yeah, yeah. My big why, Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you know the name. He Total Money Makeover. He has this saying that always resonated with me: "Live your life like no one else now, so that you can live your life like no one else later." And what that always meant to me was be fiscally responsible, be smart with your money, so that later on you have money. And I've always had this thought about how I wanted to live. And I don't want to live where I'm working forever. I want
Mm.
to be able to actually retire, which is harder than people think,
Yeah, it is.
especially with us living as long as we're living. Like, I'm blessed in my family that people are living till they're 90, 95. Like, they live long lives. So if you retire at 65, you need money to last 30 more years.
30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot when you think about it. And
Yeah.
it scares me sometimes. And so my big why is to make sure that Michelle and I don't skip a beat. And what I mean by that is the way we live our life, nice house, we have nice cars, we're traveling, right? We can go buy what we want to buy. I always want to be able to live like that. And I don't want to have to start pinching pennies, right?
Mm.
I know people who have shared with me privately that they're afraid that they're going to be like that lady eating cat food because they can't afford groceries. I don't want to have that type of fear.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of what am I doing with my time and money now so that I don't have those concerns later on. And the second part to that is also realizing that tomorrow's not promised and that I could go out today and get hit by a car and die. And I'm not going to live to be 55, let alone 95. And so having this balance where I'm enjoying life now. And if I left this earth now, I'm not going to have any regrets because I'm living a life by design that I enjoy.
That is really awesome because I don't think too many people can say that,
Yeah.
that if they were to die tomorrow, they would have no regrets.
Yeah. I wouldn't have any regrets.
Yeah.
And it's something that's purposeful. My Mondays, you know, I go out and hike and do my nature photography. It's important for me to have that. I take my daughters out and have a good time. I take Michelle out and we have our date nights. We travel. Like, I'm living life now to the fullest and still being smart about the future. You have to have that balance.
I feel like now we should segue into a call about real estate investing, but we're not going to.
I could talk to you about that though at another call because that's how I got into real estate is by investing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that really, when you talk about needing to have money to live, say 25 or 30 more years after you retire,
Hmm.
that is the only way that's going to happen, when you can have enough passive income to
Hmm.
support your life the way you
Hmm.
want it to be.
No, I completely agree with you. It's about the passive income, and you can play games like Monopoly or Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki to see that it's those multiple streams of income that will allow you to retire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
Okay. This might be a tough one because
Okay,
you said that you will regret nothing. If there was one thing that you would have done differently in your career, what would it have been?
there was one thing I would have done differently in my career: database. My entire career, I didn't really focus on the people I knew. I was
Really?
always a prospector. And it was because in my mind, I felt like I didn't have a database. I moved from Houston to Dallas, Dallas to New Jersey. So I always felt like I was picking up and moving. And even being in New Jersey since 2012, I've moved 3 times. Right. And so in my mind, I felt like I didn't have a database, which wasn't true. And so, yes, I did well and I capped and made great money prospecting, calling FISBOs and expireds.
Mhm.
I started realizing how much money I left on the table because I have moved from Cleveland to Los Angeles to Austin, Houston, Dallas, and New Jersey. I know people in all these states and they all buy and sell and invest in real estate. And I
Yeah.
didn't stay in touch with them and become a referral source. I probably lost $1 million
Well, could I borrow your phone one day?
and call people.
I'll call your database.
We may have to arrange that. But that's the thing, though. Seriously,
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe in it now. I didn't before, and if I could do one thing different, I would, of course, still prospect, but I would also stay in touch with the people I know and also my past clients. I didn't do a great job with the people who trusted me to sell their home. I got that transaction done and didn't do the best job of staying in touch.
Mm, yeah. So you could have either worked a lot less hard
Hmm.
or made a lot more money
Yep.
in getting the business.
Yep.
Okay, so we're just about done, but I wanted to know if all of us who are on the mindset call, if we could all do one thing to show you our appreciation of your leadership during this last crazy year, what would you ask of us?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And you only get one, so think about it really good.
I would say implement everything that you hear and learn on the call because it's all good advice that will help you grow. And don't just sit there and listen. Take what you learn and go implement.
It would be nice if we could just flip a switch in our brains, right? And just say, right now, what I'm hearing is all these success stories and what they have done to become successful. So tomorrow I'm going to wake up and do it
Yep.
and just make that switch. But unfortunately, we're humans and it's not that easy to get past all the shit in our head, or, you call the drunk monkeys or
Mhm.
whatever. And so there's a process to getting yourself to that place where you can flip that switch and leave it on.
There's definitely a process, and I think Patty Gurney touched on this when she was doing her big why and affirmation talk last week. She said you need to figure out what your big why is, and then start asking why is that your big why and why is that important, and keep asking until you drill down to a point where there's an emotional response on why that's super important to you,
Hmm.
and then linking that up with doing the work and knowing that if that is so important to you, it makes you feel emotional, that doing the work is the only thing that's stopping you from getting there. And so you show up differently because that big why is really important. And I think a lot of people haven't really drilled down on their big why. And so it's easy not to show up.
Right. Because if you take something as simple as, I want to pay for my daughter's college. I want to pay for it with cash so that she doesn't have any student loans. Um, okay, so that can be like some kind of financial number, big Y. But then if you have to break that down and say, okay, so why is it so important to me to be able to pay for my daughter's college in cash so she doesn't have any loans to pay?
Yes.
And then you get to that, and then that might be it for it, because you might recover something about that at that point, or maybe you need to take it another step further.
Yeah, I mean, you start asking questions like that, and you're going to get people, if they're willing to open up to you, and they're going to say, "Well, for me, I had to take out loans. My parents weren't able to help me, and for the first 20, 30 years of my life, I wasn't really able to get ahead because I wasn't making a lot of money, and I had these college loans, and it was so much that it was hard for me to just grow. And I want my daughter to be able to start her life off without having that debt, and if I can put the work in to pay for college so that's not a burden for her, that's what I want, because I know that's what I would have needed to have the success I needed to have. If you can get them to share something like that with you, then you're like
Yeah,
tapping into the emotional reason behind it, not just I want to pay for college. Like that's not enough,
right.
right?
So it's the same digging for motivation as we do with sellers
Totally.
and buyers,
I think
right?
so. Yeah, yes,
You're
in my
just
opinion,
digging, you're just digging for your own motivation
correct.
far enough that you get to the important piece of it.
Correct.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you want me to ask you, or
No,
you want to tell us?
I think you had really great questions, and I enjoyed talking to you. I think the only thing I wanted to tell you is that um, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to see people succeed. I'm here because I want to be successful as well, and we all succeed together. You can't be your best self by yourself. I get that. And that's why for me, this tribe we've put together, and I don't say I put together because it's not just me. You know, you're
Mhm.
part of it. Hayes is part of it. Tony's part of it. Ron's part of it, right? Seth is part of it. There's so many people, Ira, Tara, that are part of this tribe that we put together. It's not just me. And people say, hey, it's your morning mindset call. It's your scotch and scripts. And yes, it is. But I really view it like it's all of us. Because if you guys weren't there, it'd just be me drinking by myself on Wednesday evening, which I'm
Oh.
okay with doing. I've done it plenty of times. It's much more fun when you guys are there. And I just know that I can't be my best self. You can't be your best self by yourself. We all need each other. We need people to lean on. We need people to encourage us. We need people to push us. We need people to call us on our bullshit. And to me, that's what it's all about. And I just want people to know that's where I'm coming from with Morning Mindset and Scotch and Scripts. I don't want anything from anybody. I don't ask anybody for anything
Yeah.
except to show up and do their best. There's no ulterior motive here, is what I want people to know. I'm not looking for anything. I don't need you to pay me anything. I just need you to show up, tell people how great the call is, and then implement what you're learning. That's all I want.
And you would think that would be easy for us all to do, right?
Yep.
Yep. Um, well, I know that I appreciate you being here, being there every morning, every Wednesday, all on the phone calls. And I know that everybody who is on the call respects you so much as a person. I mean, just what you said now, I almost like started crying inside, because I feel like you are there. You're almost like omnipresent for so many people,
Hmm.
that even if I don't see your face, I can hear your voice. At certain appointments, I can hear your voice. And most of the time, it's like, STFU.
Right.
Lana, sit back. But I think that you provide that for a lot of people. And I think that you do that almost unknowingly.
Hmm.
I don't think that um, you give yourself enough credit for what you provide with the morning mindset call and the scotch and scripts and doing all your push. Um, because I think that a lot of people are just better people because of you. So I personally want to thank you. I think it's been a pleasure, me coming to KW a year ago and meeting you. I met you through the phone on the mindset call when it was still on the phone.
Yeah.
And, you have changed my life in a lot of ways. So, and my daughter's life too,
Oh, wow.
because I feel that if I hadn't got some of the strength that I got from you, I would have never been able to go down to Florida and drive her to that eating disorder program and leave her there and drive away.
Um,
So you gave me so much strength inside of me that I could have the strength that I needed to have to be her mom. And now she has taken the strength that I have and put it into herself to help herself become better and
mhm.
to hold herself up high. So, it's like a domino effect, how you give me strength and I give her strength, and she's giving some of the other girls in the program some strength. It just keeps on going. And it amazes me how one person or one situation can change someone's life. So I hope that the morning mindset call goes on forever and ever, and I do hope that we get at least 20% of the BCP people on the call.
Yeah, me as well, Anna. And I have to say, number one, thank you for what you said. I appreciate what you said, and it's encouraging for me because, like I shared last night, just being transparent. There are times like, especially on my Mondays, where I'm like, I actually want to be out taking photos, but I'm like, I want to do the morning mindset call too. And it's so important to me. And I show up for it every day. Like I'm heading out on vacation for 2 weeks. I'll still be doing the morning mindset call because that's how important it is for me. I'll even do it on
Mm.
vacation. But I'd be lying if I didn't say there are some times where I'm like, why am I doing this? Everybody's on the call. I'm asking people to share gratitude. And it's like I gotta force people to do it. I'm asking people to share their affirmations. And it's like
There's so much silence.
so much silence. And I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Am I not doing something right? Is it time? Has this run its course? Is it time to like shut it down? And then I hear you say what you just said. And I'm like, how could I ever shut it down? Like, if it's
You
happening
can't,
like that,
because you know that there are people that you've had the same kind of impact on that you've had on me, that they just don't say it.
mm, okay.
I know it for sure that there are people that, for whatever reason, maybe one day they will tell you how you have impacted them. But I know from knowing them that you have impacted everybody in their own way,
Wow. Okay.
so you can never stop the
I can
call.
never stop. Well, I say let's do it in perpetuity then. Some things have changed recently for me where I see that I need to keep doing it. And I might even need to show up differently. So maybe it's not me looking at the group saying, why aren't you guys showing up? Maybe, not even maybe, I know that I lost some of my fire. And that's why I was praising Isaiah so much yesterday, because he brought some of that fire back into me. Like, I want to show up differently to impact more people. And I saw his fire and it lit me up. And so maybe I need to change my mindset around why aren't people showing up and sharing gratitude? And maybe I need to work on amping up the call and looking within. So I'm learning. I'm still figuring this out. I'm not perfect by any means. I'm learning throughout the process.
Yeah, and we have a lot more to go, right? You never know what this year is going to bring.
Yeah. But I can tell you
So,
what I do know. I know it's going to be a good year because I choose for it to be a good year. No matter what happens, it's going to be a good year.
yeah. Okay, so it's been great talking to you. I always love talking with you.
Same.
So we'll have to do it again.
We will do it
Maybe we'll
again.
talk about real estate investing.
Yeah, we probably should. And there are a couple of people that I know would be great for that conversation. So it was definitely a pleasure. We'll definitely do it again.
All right. Thanks, David.